Hello everyone and welcome to another Everton show. It's Merseyside Derby week, so there's much to look forward to, and we'll be doing so in the company of a very special guest presenter. Of course, we'd much rather Leighton Baines be at home right now, putting his feet up before the derby at the weekend, but nonetheless, it's a pleasure to have him here in the studio. Well, as well as looking ahead to the 225th meeting of Everton and Liverpool at Goodison Park on Sunday afternoon, we will of course be reflecting on a night of high drama at the Hawthorns earlier this week, when the Toffees came from 2-0 down to take all 3 points. In fact, it's another packed Everton show.
In football, you always get measured by that reaction and what you want to do with the situation that is presented in front of you. And I think today, as a test, as a challenge, is as big as it gets in football.
It's absolutely incredible. I was really looking forward today to coming along and having a look at it, but it's blown me away. You know, we've been to Alderhay the last 10, 15 years since I've been back at the club, and you see this new facility, it's incredible.
I asked the players tonight, could they perform and could they win the game? And they've done that, and I'm delighted for them.
And then was it the year after, the scrap of Westerveld? Was that the year?
If you can call it that.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, Derby week, all the Blues come in to wish us luck, and Jamie's turned up to wish us luck this week, so, you know, good on him.
Leighton, welcome to the Everton show, your Everton show debut. Only one place to start, the Hawthorns on Monday night. The lads showed incredible character.
Yeah, they did. I think that was probably the most pleasing aspect of it for me. Obviously the 3 points, but you know, going 2 goals down there is, you know, it's a tough ask from there. And I think getting the goal back as early as we did certainly helped. But I thought, you know, we showed character that, you know, in all honesty, last season was probably what maybe we were missing at times. And I think, you know, it looks like it's back in there at the moment, and the lads done brilliant. Was that the crucial aspect of the result, scoring so quickly after we'd conceded the second goal? I think so, because it doesn't give them time to, you know, if Tony Pulis decides then to really shut up shop and, you know, change the shape again, get even, you know, more men behind the ball or whatever, it doesn't really give them time to get set up, and also, you know, doesn't give the game time to set into, you know, that sort of rhythm. So we got the goal back early enough to sort of, you know, have plenty of time to go on and win the game. When we went 2-0 down, did you think the game was gone? You do, but you also, you know, you straight away you think we need one as soon as possible. And you know, I was watching it at home. I'd just gone into the kitchen, and I was watching it with my little lad, and he shouted that we'd scored, so I was straight back in there in front of the telly. It was a night of high drama down at the Hawthorns, and Everton are now unbeaten in 6 away games this season, 4 in the Premier League and 2 in the Capital One Cup, which is an impressive record by anyone's standards, but undoubtedly the most dramatic one was, of course, in the West Midlands on Monday night. Backed by yet another jam-packed away end, the Toffees clawed their way back from 2 down to take maximum points, and as you can imagine, Roberto Martinez was a very proud man after the final whistle.
In football, you always get measured by that reaction and what you want to do with the situation that is presented in front of you. And I think today, as a test, as a challenge, is as big as it gets in football. Going 2-0 down and trying to find a way to get back against probably the best defensive structure in the Premier League. Being able to get that win that we knew how important it would be is as satisfying as it gets in terms of showing that responsibility, that character, and what we got in the dressing room.
When you go 2-0 down, it's important to strike back quickly, and that's exactly what we did. Yeah, I think the first half performance, we were all probably off 1 or 2%. We weren't given enough options on the ball. We weren't defending with intensity. We weren't stopping West Brom from getting some sort of momentum. I'm not saying that it was a really bad first half, but it wasn't up to the standards that we have. And West Brom took advantage in probably in the only chance that they had, and they deserved to get ahead. Now the reaction at half-time was exactly what you want. It was a real sense of stepping forward and everyone increasing the level and everyone taking responsibility, but then you get a real blow with conceding a set play, which we never lost composure, we never lost ourselves in terms of being left
open and allow West Brom to control the game. It was the opposite. We took control. We got an early goal, but it's very significant that the 3 goals are from open play. The 3 goals are with a lot of quality, and at the end to see well worthy and well worked 3 points with the support that we had always when we're facing our fans away from home. It seems that it gives us that extra bit of energy, that extra bit of intent, and all in all, I thought the second half performance was a real celebration of our football club.
Big Rom scores 2, sets 1 up. Not a bad night for the boy.
No, and I'm sure that we were all very disappointed with the first half. I think Rom and everyone else, we were not up to the level. But then you're not judging in accepting things. You judge on reacting and taking responsibility. And I thought the second half display, was contagious. He was probably the one that he made us tick in front of goal, and he was brave. He was intuitive, and I thought it was a great display in front of goal in that second half performance.
Leighton, we needed goals after going 2-0 down, and once again, Big Rom in the right place at the right time twice.
Yeah, he was, and when, as the manager was saying after the game, when your performance level isn't quite where you want it to be, there's a few things that can still get you the result, and one of those things is the desire, but another thing is having a striker who can come up with goals, and we had both in the second half, and credit to Rom for getting us back into the game.
42 goals for Everton in 90 games. It's a good record for someone who essentially is still a young man.
It is. It's a great record, and I think his record overall is very good in the league. He scored a lot of goals in Europe last year as well. So I think that's what everyone knows about him. He's got goals in him, and hopefully we can keep providing him with the service to get them.
Well, it certainly worked at the Hawthorns, that's for sure. It was Romelu Lukaku, though, not surprisingly, who took the plaudits after the game and made the subsequent headlines in the following morning papers. But it was another good night for Arouna Kone. The Ivorian has really turned his Everton life around, and in doing so has won the hearts of the supporters who perhaps had grown a little bit frustrated at maybe not seeing the best of their £6 million striker. Before we hear from Arouna Kone, though, Leighton, he's really turned himself around at Everton, and I would imagine the lads in the dressing room are delighted for him.
He has, yeah, and we are very happy for him because, he's had a serious injury, Arouna, and I think we didn't see the best of him because, partly because of that, and he was still working on it, and he still does a lot of work now. But I think, it's a fairer time to judge him now, and he's started to, produce better performances, come up with goals, and I think there's a little bit of chemistry there with him and Rom as well. When they're on the pitch together, they bounce off each other, and I think, there's something in those two together.
He certainly used to play well for Wigan against Everton, didn't he, Arouna Kone?
Yeah, he did, and I think, in some respects that elevated the expectation levels, and when we brought him in, we just remembered, what we'd seen of him, at Goodison Park, and, over at Wigan when we played against them. But as I say, he took a serious injury, and it took him a little bit of time to get back, but I think, we're starting to see him getting back to those levels that we'd seen against us.
Starting to see the smile back on his face as well. He's certainly in a rich vein of form, is Arouna Kone, and despite not having the best grasp of the English language, he was only too pleased to discuss the West Brom game with Everton TV.
Yeah, I think this victory is a very good performance for the team. We can play like that. I think this year Everton go to do something in this league.
What did the manager say to you when he put you on as a substitute? What were your instructions?
My instruction, the manager tell me he need my fresh, and tell me I can help Romelu in the front to win this game, and what he tell me I have to score this game, and I score, and after this pass was very nice, and Romelu was very fantastic this night.
In the second half, Gerard Deulofeu put some lovely crosses in, didn't he?
Yeah, now Gerard is physically is very better. I think this year Gerard go to help this team to win most game.
What was the message that you had when you celebrated the goal?
This message is for my wife. Today is she birthday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Big Rom scored 2 goals and set one up, so he's done a good night's work, hasn't he?
Yeah, Big Rom. When Rom is better, I think he helped the team to play very well. And this night he scored 2 games. I think it's very good for him. Romero is very good striker. He's strong. It's very important for the team.
How do you feel yourself now, Arouna? Would you say you're back up to 100% fitness?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling very well now, but no, I'm not in 100%. But I continue to work my fitness, and I think I go to help the team this year, because now I'm feeling good, and every day is very important for me.
He's a lovely lad, isn't he, Arouna Kone? And that's just about it for part 1 of this week's Everton show. After the break, we'll hear from David Unsworth. We'll feature some big news from Everton in the community and Alder Children's Hospital. And of course, we'll have plenty more conversation with Leighton Baines. Welcome back to part 2 of the Everton show. Leighton Baines is alongside me for this week's programme, and he's been keeping himself involved in off-the-field matters during his enforced injury layoff. Only recently he joined Graham Sharp at Alder Children's Hospital for an exclusive tour of their brand new facility.
It's mind-blowing, the facility that they've put in place, the amount of thought that's gone into every small detail, and I think this is going to be an amazing facility. It'll clearly be the best facility for kids in the country.
It's absolutely incredible. I was really looking forward today to coming along and having a look at it, but it's blown me away. We've been to Alder the last 10-15 years since I've been back at the club, and you see this new facility. It's incredible, and all credit to people involved, but every corner you turn, there's something that just takes your breath away. Just looking out now into the main entrance, you can just imagine in a couple of months' time or a couple of weeks' time when it's actually in operation. It's a fantastic facility for the people of Liverpool. Everybody knows what a fantastic job Alder does, but this will make it even better.
Even though I knew the scale of it, it wasn't until the last few months I've really seen the scale of it. When you see it come out the ground, it gets pretty big and it keeps growing and growing. But when you put people in it, when you see the equipment come in, when you see people's responses to it, when you see the reaction of people to the building, that's when you realise it's big. Not big in a physical sense, but big in an emotional sense. It's a building that it makes me feel happy being in it, but it's a building that will change the way children view hospitals. That's what our aim always was, to make a hospital that didn't feel like one.
The kids have actually had an input, and you can see their input, in the different corridors and wards you walk into. But no, listen, the hospital's never a nice place. It's never an easy place. But certainly this facility will make it a little bit easier for the children and also the parents of the children who unfortunately have to come along here. But, fair play, it's fantastic.
It's been a tough task, I think, to bring it all together for the people who've been working on it. Like you say, it's one thing, coming up with the design and, getting a building ready, but, you've got to transport a lot of patients across and get them bedded in really to the new surroundings, and, you can't appreciate it enough really, even when you come down and see it, you become aware, or you get made aware of something else, that's needed to be done, and the amount of people that have put so much work into it is incredible.
Leighton, I was with you and Sharpie on that tour, and the most bizarre part of having a look around what is a fantastic complex was when they introduced us to small robots who make their own way to the linen room, get the dirty linen, bring it downstairs to be washed and take clean linen back. That was incredible. I still haven't got my head around that one.
No, well, sort of still haven't seen them in action yet, so I'm not going to totally believe it until I see them in action. But yeah, we did go down and take a look at them, and say that's just one of the amazing details about the place.
Fantastic place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'm really looking forward to actually going back with the lads, when we do our visit and stuff, and it's such a great environment. I say no one ever wants to be in hospital, no one wants to be in hospital with the children, but it's certainly a lot more comfortable, and it's going to be a lot more bearable for people when they do have to go there.
One of the highlights of Christmas for the people and the children, the staff and the parents at Alder is the visit of the Everton first team squad, and it's a fabulous afternoon, isn't it?
It is, and it's one of the perks of the job, I think. For us to be able to go down and you know, have an effect on people's day in that way, and you know, just get to spend some time with the kids down there. It's something that we always look forward to doing, and you know, as I say, I'm really looking forward to, you know, going back there with the lads as a group.
The visit is a boost to the staff as well, isn't it?
It is, because sometimes, you know, you're stuck in your normal routine, your day-to-day job, and you know, you can start to take things for granted a little bit, and going down there certainly takes you back away from that and makes you appreciate, you know, just, you know, normal things that you'd normally take for granted, like your health.
Just on a broader aspect, Everton in the community by reputation is the best in the Premier League, and the lads enjoy being involved in the many schemes, don't they?
Yeah, because as I say, you do get a real good feeling from it when you go down to one of the events, you know, whether it be a school visit or a hospital or whatnot, that, you know, when you get there and you see the reaction of the people, you know, particularly, you know, young kids, you know, they're really made up to see the lads when they turn up there, and it's good to be able to, you know, have an influence in that way.
You were still on your crutches in that piece of film. You're not now. How's the injury, by the way?
It's all right. I'm just sort of past the halfway stage, and I'm hoping to get outside and start doing some running pretty soon. So I've been working hard these last couple of weeks to get to that point. So, you know, just trying to kick on from there.
Are you an impatient patient?
I am. I've had to rein myself in a little bit. They want me to, you know, not to get ahead of myself. So I've done that. I've stuck to all the sort of dates that have been set, because I'm normally, you know, try and jump ahead of it and get back earlier. So, you know, we're on course at the moment for where we need to be.
I was going to say, how do you fill your time? But I suppose you've got less time to fill when you're injured than when you're not.
Yeah, you do. You know, I've been in earlier and getting a session in, you know, on some days before the lads get in, and then we meet together every morning, and then I, you know, get my other session in while they're out training, and then we'll normally hang around, get some treatment and go again. So you tend to, you know, be around the place a lot longer and doing a bit more work, because obviously it's what's needed.
And you spend time helping out with Everton in the community as well. Well, back to the football now, and it's not just the first team who have been salvaging results after falling behind. On Tuesday night at Southport, Everton under-21s entertained Norwich City and showed that anything the seniors can do, they can match.
Everton under-21s returned to winning ways with a 3-1 victory against Norwich City on Tuesday evening. But just like the first team 24 hours earlier, the Young Blues had to come from behind to get all 3 points. The visitors opened the scoring from the penalty spot on 32 minutes when Todd Cantwell was fouled in the area. Striker Yamal Lazar then stepped up to convert from 12 yards. Brazilian fullback Felipe Mattioni, who is currently working with the team, helped get the Toffees back in the game when his marauding run was halted illegally. And John Joe Kenny levelled from the spot. Everton then scored a quick-fire double midway through the second half. From a corner, the ball was knocked down, and there was defender Mason Holgate to grab his first goal in Royal Blue from close range. 2 minutes later, Callum Connolly drove forward from his holding midfield role and unleashed a low drive into the bottom corner to seal the win. The under-21s climbed to 5th in the league table, and coach David Unsworth was pleased with the performance.
We started really well. We had a great first 20 minutes. We pressed them, pressed our life out of them, and won the ball back. And just actually said to Tom on the bench that, you know, we needed to score in that period because we were on top and we were looking good. And then we get caught and you know, we give a penalty away and you know, we're 1-0 down. So you don't always get what you deserve. But we regrouped at half time. We tinkered with the system and you know, we got back into the game just before half time. So I thought the second half, the way we went about our game, we scored at vital times and we looked dangerous. Some of our play was very good. Our team shape was very good as well, and it was a solid performance. And we've won a game of football, which I asked the players tonight, could they perform and could they win the game? And they've done that, and I'm delighted for them.
Leighton, we've got some smashing young players coming through, haven't we?
We have, and you know, they've proved that over the last few seasons. I think, you know, and the lads who've been involved with the first team as well, when they have been asked to come over and step up, and you know, whether they've just been travelling or actually playing, they've always been up to the mark.
Are they nervous when they get sent over to the first team to join in a couple of sessions? I would imagine they are.
Yeah, some of them, you know, it all depends on obviously on the characters, but generally they are. But you know, we're quite lucky in the setup that we have. You know, they're never too far away from us. It's not like, you know, a whole different base that they have to come across to. They're around us all the time. We share a facility. We see each other all the time. So, you know, they're quite familiar with us, and I think that helps because when they do come across, if, you know, they're more comfortable they are, you know, the more that it's going to, you know, make them comfortable and reflect better on the training pitch.
That's one of the many advantages of being at Finch Farm, isn't it? Because when we were at Belfield, if the kids wanted to train with the seniors, they had to come up from Netherton and perhaps were a little bit overawed by it all.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think just the fact that, you know, we're with each other all the time. We're sharing, you know, a room, a canteen. You know, we pass each other in the corridor. We're in the gym together. You know, you get to know them. I done me first rehab I done with Matty Pennington. You know, we were together for 2 months running around, and you know, I'm with Kieran now doing the same thing. So I think, you know, that definitely helps the younger players, and it's good for us as well. Keeps us on our toes.
The good lads as well, aren't they, Matty and Kieran and the boys?
Very good lads, and I think, you know, as I say, it's always good to have. You don't want anyone to be injured, but it's always good to have a rehab partner, so you're not running on your own. And he's a good runner, Matty, as well. So, you know, it was good for me to have him around.
You were a teammate of Dave Dunsworth's, weren't you?
Yeah, for a while. We come to Wigan when, you know, I don't know if it was, well, it was definitely towards the end of his career, but he'd come over and, you know, he was helpful for me because he played in a similar position as well, and I was young. He was an experienced head and, you know, from the same part of the world as well. So I think, you know, he was good for me to have around. And
he took a very important penalty for Wigan, didn't he, that virtually kept them in the Premier League?
Well, yeah, to keep us in the league in the end. I think, you know, we had to win the game against Sheffield United. They just needed a point at the time, and, you know, unfortunately Ryan Taylor got injured in the first half quite early on, and that meant Unzi come on and, you know, therefore took the penalty. So, you know, we were definitely grateful to him on that day.
Who would have taken it if he hadn't taken it?
Well, I think I was due to take it. I walked over and picked the ball up and thought, oh, where am I going to put this? And I turned around and he just said, you know, give me that, lad. I happily handed it over.
That was a sign of things to come, because he works really well with the young players, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. That you can see. I trained with them for about a week before I joined back in with the first team in pre-season, and you can see the amount of respect that the lads have for him. He's got a really good balance, Unzi, with them, where, you know, he doesn't have to say a lot. You know, they just know, you know, how to act, and I think, you know, it's a special thing that he's got going there. I think Unzi, you know, he's got the lads playing really well, and, you know, for them to respect him as much as they do says a lot about him.
He's always got a smile on his face at Finch Farm, hasn't he?
He has, and I think that's the thing, is he manages to do it with a smile. You know, the lads are really well disciplined, and they know, you know, not to cross him. But, you know, he sort of gets on with them like, you know, almost like one of the lads' friends, and they know not to cross the line. I'd say it's a gift that he must have. I think, you know, it's a special thing for a coach to be able to have that relationship with his players.
He certainly is. An Everton legend, David Unsworth, doing a terrific job. We say it week in, week out with the under-21s. And another great result earlier this week. Well, that's just about it for part 2 of this week's show, but don't go away, because after the break, it's the big interview. Welcome back to part 3 of the Everton show. Well, the usual format here is to feature a previously filmed in-depth interview with a special guest. We had Louisa Hall last week, of course, and you may remember Duncan Ferguson the week before. But as we've got Leighton Baines no more than a 6-yard box away, this week's big interview is a tap-in for us. Leighton, let's go right back to the beginning. Were you like thousands upon thousands of other Merseyside kids? You started playing football in the street?
Yeah, that was it. Just, you know, in the front garden or, you know, out on the street. You know, and it'd be one of them. You'd start off with 3 or 4, and it, you know, it wouldn't take long, and it'd be about 20 odd kids all running around playing, and, you know, you'd play for hours at the time. It's something you don't see quite as often nowadays, really.
Who coached you? Who was your first ever coach?
I'd have to say my granddad, really. He used to have me in his front garden, teaching me about different runs, penetrating runs, and, you know, I didn't understand it at the time, and he used to show me examples of stuff. So I think, you know, that was the start of my sort of education, really, of football, was through my granddad.
The question I often ask professional footballers is, when did you realise that you were slightly better than the other kids?
I honestly can't remember that ever happening. You know, when I was playing in teams and stuff, I can't remember ever feeling like, you know, one of the better players in any of the teams I played in. You know, I just always used to try to hold my own, really, and do the best I could. And, you know, I can't really remember a time when I felt like I was better than, you know, any of the other kids. I don't actually think that I was. I think I just sort of progressed nicely along the way.
Must have played for some good teams if you weren't the best player, by the way. When did you start to think, or did you ever think, I want to play for Everton, I want to play for England?
Yeah, I think the Everton one wasn't until I spoke about this recently. It wasn't until I'd been at Wigan for about 18 months in the Premier League, because I was always, we come through, it was League One, so I was finding my feet, and then we went up and we had a couple of years in the Championship and I got comfortable. We went to the Premier League and I thought, they might sign someone else here, and they didn't, so I thought, I've got a chance. After a year or so, there was a couple of clubs interested, and the manager at the time, Paul Jewell, spoke to me, and he said, "Where do you see yourself?" And I said, "Everton." And I'd never really, as I say, I'd never really felt like I was due to leave or anything. I never sort of felt like I was, in that position, and it didn't occur to me until then, really, that I had an opportunity maybe to go to a bigger club. And when he asked me, I said I wanted to go to Everton.
Wigan Athletic was one of the most incredible football stories of all time. To get to the Premier League 25, 30 years after being in Northern Premier League, non-league football, you seem to adapt pretty seamlessly. Did you find the Premier League to your liking when you first arrived on the big scene?
Yeah, I think we just genuinely didn't know what to expect of it. Very few of us had played in the league before. I'd say we'd all come up together. It was a special time, really, for us, and we all came up together, really. And we very much expected we expected the worst. And we had our first game against Chelsea. We were spending a lot of money at that time, and they won with a last-minute goal, beat us 2-1. And I think that gave us a bit of self-belief, because people thought we'd get beat 5 or 6 on the day, and we sort of grew into it, and we had a great first season.
And you got to the final of the League Cup at Cardiff, didn't you, one season, which was unbelievable?
Yeah, we did, and as I say, I think we were still around probably 5th or 6th in the league at that time as well. We'd sort of stayed in that top 6. After the first couple of games, we started winning, stayed in that top 6 or 8, I think, maybe. For most of the season, got to a cup final. We lost to a far better team in the end and ran out of legs, but and that took a little bit away from us, but we still finished, I think it was 10th in our first season, which no one expected.
Well, we'll certainly pick up the Everton story in a few minutes, but as someone never too far away when the banter starts flying around at Finch Farm, Leighton is a key member of the Everton dressing room. He can count all of his teammates as good pals, but regularly and freely admits that Jags is probably his Bezzy. So how much did the England international colleagues know about each other? Everton TV did an experiment recently to find out.
Recording me now?
Recording you, and then also recording.
I'm watching it.
Multiple choice though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Move on, it's all over, Gaff.
Well, we obviously played against each other. That counts as a meeting.
I didn't
I'll
say
say
that.
I met him here.
Playing against him.
Joel Robles, Gerard Delafay, or Leighton Baines.
Yeah, I've got a right chance. Can't be worse than Joel. It's got to be Joel.
Stephen Pienaar, Joel Robles, or Leighton Baines.
Me.
Reckon?
Nah, Joel. I'm not having that. I've got the worst taste. Joel, again.
Spot. Right. Spot time.
He did well there. Oh, Baz.
Hey, Baz. I can
Hey,
tell
mate.
exactly how he's done now, can't I? You said no conferring. Well, I could just straight.
Well, it doesn't really matter how he's done now, because it's how you do, isn't it?
Well, if you done well, Baz.
Fancy me, can
Well, it's probably me, Hibbo, and someone else. So you can I have the options, please.
Options are Darren Gibson, Phil Jagielka, or Leighton Baines.
Oh, wow, he's put himself in.
I didn't.
Mona, are we saying?
Biggest Mona.
I'm going to say he said himself, Bainesy. Something like a tiger or something.
The options are Cheetah, fish, or moose?
What sort of questions are these? Cheetah, fish, or moose? I've never heard him refer himself to a moose. I'll go cheetah.
Charming, cool, or realist?
I said strange. Charming. We'll go charming.
The full Blues Brothers video, by the way, is available to watch now on the Everton YouTube channel. Leighton, we're speaking about your career in football. When and how did the move to Everton finally come about?
I think, you know, we had a difficult second season with Wigan. So I think the manager said, you know, we'll deal with it. We need to stay up. And, you know, we had that dramatic last game against Sheffield United, stayed up. And then I think it was just a case of, you know, me finding the club that suited best. There was a couple of offers. I went and met Roy Keane up at Sunderland, and there was a couple of other people interested as well. But Everton were always interested, but, you know, they never put an offer in. So I wanted to wait for that. And so I went up and met Roy and told him at the time, you know, I just want to wait really and see if this Everton move can happen. And it just took quite a while. But in the end, it got done and I was made up.
Was he happy with that, Roy Keane?
No, not really, because I think they were due to go, I can remember they were due to go to Portugal on a training camp, and I think, I don't know if he said that, you know, they'd book me on any flight, or book me a flight straight out there and stuff, and they probably offered me more money and stuff like that at the time. And, you know, they seemed really keen to have a go. And he was saying, you know, he wanted to get a few other people through, and he thought if he got me in, you know, that might happen, that might influence a couple of other people. I can remember having to ring him and just say, look, I just want to wait and see if I can, you know, if Everton are going to come through with an offer. So
was that a nerve-wracking phone call?
Yeah, I can remember pacing around the kitchen, building myself up to make the call. But it was one that had to be made. You know, I went up there and met him, and, you know, he seemed like a great guy at the time and stuff. And, you know, his plans for what he wanted to do seemed quite exciting, but, you know, I was just more excited about this.
David Moyes can be a pretty persuasive character himself as well, can't he?
Yeah, and, you know, I knew a few of the Everton lads already at the time. I was playing for the 21s with Varney and stuff, and Killer had moved from Everton to Wigan, and a couple of other people as well. So, you know, good references from all of them as well.
Like a lot of people that signed for another football club, things didn't go all your own way right from the off, did they?
No, it was a difficult first season. I think, you know, not really playing too often. And then I think I was out for about 3 months as well. I had an injury that I ended up, you know, I tried to sort of come back from it, but I struggled for most of that season, and I just ended up having surgery at the end of the season to correct it and come back the next season. And, you know, I played a bit more and then become a regular, I think, later on in the year, and sort of, you know, managed to stay in the team, really.
One of the highlights of the David Moyes reign was the 2009 FA Cup semi-final, Manchester United at Wembley. You scored one of the penalties. Was that more nerve-wracking than ringing Roy Keane?
No, because I think...
Really?
No, it's just because, you know, when you're playing football, it's like watching. As I've said before, I'm nervous watching, I'm not nervous playing. I think, you know, going up to a penalty shootout, you know, there's a little bit of nerves, but you're sort of, in some respects, in your comfort zone. You're doing what you feel like you know. You know, I remember Tim, I think, had missed the first one, so there was a bit of pressure on it. So I was a bit nervous going up, and I think it went into the roof of the net. So just hoping it stayed underneath the bar, and then I was happy to see it go in.
Is it possible to recall what's going through your mind as you walk forward from the halfway line to the penalty area to get the ball off the referee?
I think if there is, then your mindset isn't right, if you know what I mean. I think when you're at your best when you're sort of on autopilot and you just go up and do it. You know where you're gonna, if it's a penalty, you know where you're gonna put it. You've picked your spot and you do it. I think if you're thinking about your surroundings and what's happening, then you're probably a little bit out of the zone.
That was a truly special day and a truly special penalty. We could talk for hours, I'm sure, Leighton Baines and myself, but the programme schedule people probably wouldn't be overly impressed. So we'll let them run a few adverts now, but don't go away, because after the break, the countdown really starts towards the 225th Merseyside derby. Welcome back to the fourth and final part of this week's Everton show. Only one topic of conversation for the next 12 minutes or so, and that, of course, is the first Merseyside derby of the season at Goodison Park. Everton may well start as the bookies' favourites given the current standings in the Premier League, but as Leighton Baines knows, there's only one place for the form book, and that's the nearest wheelie bin. Form really does go out the window, Leighton, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's a game on its own, really. You treat it almost like a cup game in some respects, or you'd certainly talk about it in the same light. You know, all that anyone is really concerned about is the result and winning the game. And, you know, I think, you know, our form going into it's quite good. But if it wasn't, we'd be using that line. You know, that form doesn't matter. So, you know, hopefully the lads just go out there and produce, you know, the type of performance they did last time we were at Goodison against Chelsea.
Let's hope so. Well, Tim Howard has played more Merseyside derbies than most of the players who will be on display on Sunday, but the American admits the occasions are still ones that he really looks forward to, especially with our solid start to the season.
Well, I mean, I think going into the season, people said the first 10 games is tough, and my answer to that was, you know, August until May is very tough in the Premier League, so it doesn't matter who you face. And we've taken it week by week, and we've prepared for each opponent differently, but most importantly, we focused on ourselves, and I don't think that will change. Yeah, we've got some big games coming up, but as I mentioned, every single week is tough. It really, really is. That's not lip service. It's hard to go away to Swansea, just as it's hard to play against Liverpool in the derby. It's a difficult task, but we're up for it.
Before you came to the Premier League, what was your impression of a Merseyside derby? Was it a bit of a distant connection?
It was blood and thunder, and it was, you know, a bit rock'em sock'em robots, and always exciting games. And I don't think that's changed. You know, certainly not in my time. Playing in the games, they're exciting. They mean everything to the city, both red and blue, and it means everything to the players.
As fans in the stands, you know, we might have a different view or experience of them, but when you're in the middle of the pitch, you've got all four stands at Goodison or Anfield all around you. What's it like as a player, the atmosphere? It's
electric. It's like nothing else, and I try and tell my family who hasn't been yet, you know, to make sure in the next couple of years before I retire that they get to a derby, because it's something that they'll never experience in their life, you know, outside of being in between those four walls.
We've had some draws in the derbies in recent years. We're not far away from getting the win. What do we have to do differently?
Well, continue to concentrate on our performance. You know, I think mentally we're resilient. We're tough. I think the squad is as deep as it's ever been, and you know, more so than ever, we feel like we're ready to perform and ready to get the win. But that's every week, you know. So it's not something that will change for us.
Leighton, it has been a solid start of the season for Everton, and part of that is certainly down to Tim Howard.
Yeah, it is. He's made some big saves already this season that have, you know, kept us in games at crucial times. You know, you think back to the Southampton game. You know, he made a big save there. We go up the other end, score, and the game goes out of sight, and we win. And you know, keeping clean sheets, the likes of Southampton, down at Spurs, he made a lot of good saves there as well. Probably got us a point that day. And, you know, clean sheets at Swansea. He's been, you know, brilliant for us so far this season, and, you know, hopefully we won't need him too often at the weekend, but if we do, he'll produce that kind of form.
He certainly is a man for the big occasions. He'll be right up for the Merseyside derby. There will, of course, be a regular derby day tormentor missing for Liverpool this Sunday. Steven Gerrard, thankfully some will say, will be a few thousand miles away when the game kicks off. But his best pal, Jamie Carragher, is most definitely on Merseyside. He was at Finch Farm earlier this week to do some filming, and he caught up with one of his old derby opponents, Leon Osman.
Well, as you know, derby week, all the Blues come in to wish us luck, and Jamie's turned up to wish us luck this week, so, you know, good on him.
Obviously, Jamie, you're here with a neutral cap on today, I'd imagine.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but that's me role now with Sky covering the game, so it's a huge game, you know, for both clubs. But derby week is something that I miss. I'm now as a fan, a supporter really, a Liverpool supporter I should add, but I know the feeling as a kid as well, being a Blue, the build up, and it was, you know, totally different as a player because you can actually do something about it on the pitch. Now it's a bit more nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you two are sort of the last of a dying breed, really, sort of local lads who've got plenty of experience at Derby Day, so you've seen it from both sides. What's the anticipation like from your side, Oz?
Good, you know, you want to play in derbies, but I've got to be honest, you only enjoy them if you've won. You know, you have to build.
Didn't enjoy many then, did you?
Enjoyed enough, thank you. Have to build up all week.
You scored in a few, didn't you?
I scored in one. Thanks for bringing that up. You scored in many?
No.
There we
Must have
go.
scored an own goal, mustn't I?
There we go. We'll have scored more for us than I have in derbies. But yeah, you only really enjoy them when you win.
Yeah. Jamie, how strange is it sort of not being able to get the boots on ahead of a derby? Is this the day that is most frustrating as a former player?
Yeah, definitely, and especially the one at Goodison. That was the game I look forward to most, start of the season. I mean, we were always sort of big favourites maybe to win at Anfield, but Goodison was always maybe more of a leveller, with hostile crowd, tight pitch, and it was always a game I look forward to. And if there was one game I could pick every season to win, it'd be the Goodison derby, and it was a great game to be involved in, and yeah, gutted and missing it.
Yeah, I suppose you've got nice memories of a boyhood Blue. You changed allegiances obviously during your career, but what are your memories of Goodison as a fan?
Well, listen, derby games, Liverpool at that stage were, winning titles, were the best team around. I was fortunate enough in my early years as a kid, 7 or 8, that Everton were the best team around really, alongside Liverpool in that mid-80s spell. And my first derby was at Anfield. Graham Sharp scored the volley. Went to the 2 cup finals as well, 86, 89, didn't go so well, but at that time, I mean, you're talking about the 2 best teams in Europe really, I think. Liverpool dominating the European Cup, Everton winning the Cup Winners' Cup, winning league titles, and it was a great time to be a supporter on Merseyside really, and especially an Evertonian.
And Ozzy, I think Jamie's admitted it on Sky on Monday night, he fancies us as the favourites for this game. We've had a good start to the season. What's the mood in the camp like?
Positive. As you say, we're in good form. We're confident. We're playing well. So we're certainly going into it, confident and hoping and expecting to get a result. But Derby is known for, the form goes out the window, and it's all about who turns up and probably wants it most on the day. So I'm just thankful Jamie's come to wish us, as a top Blue, he's come to wish us all the luck, and we'll see how it goes the weekend.
Well, local players, of course, are what the Merseyside derby is all about, and one local boy who lived the dream and not only played for Everton in a Merseyside derby but scored in one as well was Francis Jeffers. He's been speaking to the Everton show about this most unique of football occasions.
Being a local lad, never missing a Merseyside derby growing up, being a season ticket holder and always getting a ticket for the Anfield fixture was, when I made it into the first team, it was the first game I always looked for.
The Anfield derby for Franny Jeffers, you had some ups and you had some downs, didn't you?
Yeah, my first one I think I scored, if I remember rightly. We got beat 3-2. I think we took the lead, didn't we, after about 14 seconds or something.
Olivier de Cour scored early doors.
Yeah, and then I came off the bench, got a goal, and then was it the year after? The scrap with Westerveld? Was that the year?
If you can call it that.
Yeah, the handbags were in, yeah. So the Anfield ones, yeah, had a few ups and downs.
And it was a special night when Cam scored early doors, and although you did get sent off before the end, it was a wonderful night for Evertonians to win there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly fancied us that night. I genuinely did. I looked around in the tunnel and I thought, we've got bigger characters than them tonight. We had a few local lads in, and we also had the likes of Goffey and Kev, Davey Weir, Hutch, Nicky Barnby. We had characters all over the pitch.
You need them in a derby, don't you?
You do. And I looked around at them, and there was a few foreign lads who I thought it wouldn't really mean a lot to. And I think right from the word go, we were the better team that night, and we deserved to win.
There's a positive feeling at Finch Farm this week as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
Without getting too carried away.
You know what, Daz, it's one of them, isn't it? It doesn't matter, does it, what's going on at either club? I mean, obviously we've had a great result there, and we go into it and we'll probably be favourites, won't we? Looking at the way they're playing. And I do fancy us strongly, but everything goes out the window. There's times where the team that aren't playing well go into derbies and win them, so nothing changes really. It's derby week, isn't it? And I'd be lying if I said that I don't fancy us strongly, though. I genuinely think we'll win.
Leighton, I said at the start of the programme we'd much rather you were at home relaxing ahead of the Merseyside derby because you'd be involved in it. Is this the worst time to be injured, when the the likes of the Merseyside derby comes around?
It is, yeah, because it's a great game to play in, obviously, and I think, you know, the Goodison one definitely is the one. You know, it's the best one to be involved in. But, you know, having to sit and watch it, or even now the build up to it, I'm starting to, you know, get that little bit of nervous feeling, because, you know, when you're involved as a player, you know, you're just going through your normal preparation and getting ready for the game, and you feel fine. But I think it's a lot different, you know, when you sort of just sit and watching it. And now I know what my mates tell me, you know, they feel like in the lead up to a derby. I get it now.
It's Merseyside derby weekend. That's just about it for another Everton show. There hasn't been an Everton hat-trick in a Merseyside derby for 84 years. It was 4 years ago yesterday since the last red card, and it's 11 and a half years since an Everton penalty. But come 1:30 on Sunday, the stats will count for nothing. My huge thanks to Leighton Baines for his engaging company. Thanks to you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the Everton show and that you have a thoroughly memorable Sunday afternoon.